So, hello. Um, it hit me yesterday that today, when you'll be seeing this, is the anniversary of my very first video that I put up on YouTube. And it wasn't much of a video. I'm gonna link it somewhere. But it was my very first video. And in the year I've been on YouTube, I've never actually introduced myself. And nobody actually asked for this video, but I figured for a 1-year anniversary, kind of just do a brief introduction and maybe a little bit of my background. Some of it's good, some of it sucked. I always try to look at the glass as it is, not really half empty or half full. But, I mean, if you look at my life from one direction, dang, I look like I've just been lucky as can be. But if you look at it a little more closely, you'll see it's actually monkey's paw luck. But, you know, it is what it is. So, hello! My name is Christine. I was born back in the Dark Ages, also known as the early 1970s, the age of polyester, bell-bottoms, and shag haircuts. I probably have done the bell-bottoms before. Do you really do bell-bottoms? I know I wore them. Even back in the 70s, though, I hated them. I wore far too much polyester because I was a small child and had no choice. And I probably had a shag haircut at least at one point in my life or another. I was the youngest child, and for the longest time, I thought we were the perfect nuclear family. From the outside, everything always looked normal. It wasn't, but I'm not going to really get into that. I did find out as I grew up that my older brother, who lived with us, was actually my half-brother. And then I found out even later than that that somewhere out in this world, I have another half-brother that I've never met. It's one of the reasons that I decided to do the Ancestry DNA thing. Maybe I'll actually get to meet him. Or at least find out if he wants to know anything about his, at least mother. I don't know anything about his father, but I could at least inform him about his mother. I was born just north of Detroit. And when I say just north of Detroit, I mean literally just north of Detroit. I lived literally on 8 Mile and Hilton. And the cool thing about that was that I lived right across from one of the main gates to the Michigan State Fairgrounds back when it was still running. So every September, I was right there and I could go to the fair. So that was cool. And honestly, a lot of people, you know, when they talk about scary Detroit and whatever, maybe I was just luckier and charmed. I never had any issues. I never felt like I was growing up on the mean streets. It was just where we lived. And I lived there my entire life until I had graduated high school and joined the Army. I ended up joining the Army because I was a terrible student. My grades were horrible. It wasn't that I was dumb. I just never saw the point in doing any sort of homework at all. So I would get good grades on my tests, and I would get all F's on homework and things. So I was a pretty miserable student. I was into art. I was into theater. I was into reading books, and I was into music. Not playing music, but listening to it. So I graduated and didn't exactly know what I was going to do with my life. I got a job, then I got another job, and then my brother gave me a call. My brother that I grew up with, he's 4 years older than me, and he had joined the Army directly after high school. He did the Desert Storm thing, and he had come back to Michigan and was now an Army recruiter. He gave me a call, gave me the spiel, and yeah, my own brother recruited me into the Army. It was what it was, you know. It, it, it was a job. And when I was in the Army, as so many people do, I met someone and fell in love and got married. Which, you know, hey, happily ever after, the fairy tale, etc. Except this is where the real monkey's paw luck comes in. Got married, got pregnant, had our first baby, my oldest son, absolutely wonderful kid. And when our oldest child was 6 months old, my husband, who was actually a year younger than me, had an aneurysm that blew in his heart. It was an descending? Yeah, it was a descending aortic aneurysm. And yeah, he actually survived it, which was kind of amazing. They gave him a less than 5% chance of surviving the aneurysm, but he did. But that kind of ended the whole Army thing. He was medically retired from the Army because he was in as well. And I had already gotten out because it was decided between the two of us that if we were going to have a baby, one of us was going to be home for it. So I had gotten out of the Army and he had stayed in, and then yeah, he had the aneurysm. He was medically retired from the Army, and after the aneurysm he had a lot of brain damage because he had been technically dead for over 5 minutes. So we decided to pack everything up and we moved to Texas and we moved in with his family. And things seemed to be getting better. I got a job there in Texas, and we did a lot of fighting with Social Security and things like that, trying to get him on disability. And we decided to have another baby, which I'm glad I did. I love both of my children dearly. And so yeah, we had a second son, another delightful child, totally different from my first son. My oldest son is a lot like me. He's a lot more of an introvert. My youngest son, which if you've seen the videos, he is hilarious. He is far more extroverted than either his brother or I. Wonderful kid. I have a fantastic son-in-law thanks to my youngest. Love them all dearly. But yeah, had the baby, and when he was just a couple months old, we went in, my late husband and I, and went in for a checkup and found out that one of his heart valves had been stretched out really badly because of the aneurysm, and it was failing. And so he was going to go and have a heart valve replacement surgery. And the surgery went okay, but he only woke up once after the surgery. He lived 8 days after the surgery. Our youngest son was 4 months old when his dad died. And in the ultimate cosmic joke on me, my late husband died on Valentine's Day. It was not really the trajectory that I saw my life heading in. I was 22, I had 2 children under the age of 3. My oldest son was a little bit over 2, and my youngest son was 4 months old, and yeah, I was now a single parent. And yeah, I think we'll go down and we will finish the introduction to me sitting down by the lake, because sitting by the water is always a good thing. So, yeah, but I'm going to also insert some pictures of little baby me and a few other things in various places, probably here in this middle part and at the beginning and the end, but yeah. So that was my monkey's paw portion of life. It got better. It did get better. I mean, I think that my life is pretty okay now. Not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect, but not terrible. So let us adjourn down to the lake, and I will tell you about the ensuing years, and yeah, that'll be it. So I thought we'd move out here, at least for the Texas and Tennessee years of my life, because the birds are singing and it's kind of beautiful. So yeah, after my late husband died, I stayed in Texas for a few years, and I don't know, I was happy in Texas, but at the same time, I kind of wasn't. I wanted to strike out on my own. I was with my late husband's family at the time. We were all kind of just, I guess, clinging to each other, which is understandable. But at the same time, I wanted to stand on my own, or at least as much on my own as you can stand with 2 kids. So I went back and moved to Tennessee, which is where I thought I had been happy before, because that's where I got married, that's where I had my oldest child. And yeah, it seemed like a good idea. And I actually stayed in Tennessee for a lot of years. I'll put a couple of pictures in. I had a little farm. It wasn't much. I had some horses, I had a pony, I had a couple of goats, I had some chickens. It was just kind of a thing. I ended up going to work for Walmart, which a lot of what they say about Walmart is true. A lot of it's not, but I was working first as a baker at Walmart, and then I moved to the 3rd shift inventory control team, which, it was a job. But the whole time I was in Tennessee, I just wasn't really happy. I mean, I had moments where I was happy, but I just still wasn't happy. And it was hot, and for as much as I complain about cold weather, honestly, I don't like the southern heat. I never have. And yeah, so about what, 8-10 years ago, in what I'm sure was a huge surprise to anyone that didn't know me well and hadn't been listening to me, I uprooted everything. My boys came with me. My youngest actually had 1 year left of high school, which he completed up here in the UP. And I dropped everything and left Tennessee and came north, which turned out to be a good thing. I had only been in Houghton for maybe, I think it was my first winter that I was in Houghton. And that New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, I got a phone call from my dad that my mom had had a sudden, catastrophic, unexpected stroke. She had the stroke, I guess technically on New Year's Eve, but she died on New Year's Day. So that was bad. And my dad actually only made it 2 years longer than my mom. He kind of just let himself go. And yeah, but that was how I ended up here, because my brother and I inherited the cabin. Only my brother is a true Southern type person, and he actually enjoys living in the South. So we worked out a deal where I ended up getting the cabin, and I ended up moving out here. And honestly, I think it's been kind of, it's kind of what I needed. Like, it took me a couple of years to really process everything and all of that, but I'm happier now than I've been in a very long time, which is, it's a good thing. And yeah, and I guess the only thing that's left is how I ended up with the whole YouTube thing, which is a funny story in and of itself, because I was trying to send, at first, just still pictures to some friends on Discord. And you really can't send videos that are very long on Discord. And I was playing with my phone one day, and I found out that if I hit the share button, it said I could post to YouTube. And I said, huh, okay. So I started posting just little dumb videos, which I'm going to link the my very first video. It'll be linked in this this video. And it's just like 15 seconds of a squirrel sitting on my knee. But that's how I ended up doing the YouTube thing. And honestly, I did not think that anybody would even be remotely interested, other than my couple of friends, in watching or anything. And it's kind of like the reading books that I do. That started because I have a very good friend, and we were kind of doing our own little book club thing. And one of the books that I kept recommending, he couldn't get at his local library as an audiobook. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just read it, and I'll put it on YouTube, and that way you can listen to the book. And surprisingly enough to me, more than just him seems to be interested in it. So that's cool. Like, but yeah, 1 year on YouTube. I don't know that anyone actually wanted this video, but I felt like I should introduce myself. So if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate everybody who's hit the subscribe button. And I appreciate everybody that just sits and listens as I sometimes just ramble on, go for walks, play with my cats, all that silly stuff. Anyway, I will see you guys again for another year, hopefully. Bye.